Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Just in Time Genie. It's Carol and Ellie once again. We had a little mini break. So today we're actually going to be talking about how do you keep growing when you're dealing with changes and obstacles. And so we're going to start off by talking about mindset and cultivating a mindset that supports you. So if Ellie, if you want to go into that, that would be great.
Yeah. Um, so cultivating a mindset that supports you. We did a lot already in our series, starting from the very first one, around cultivating a mindset. And the word cultivating is purposely used because it's something you nurture. So the little habits and the rituals that Carol has talked about, things that you can do to ground yourself, to find your purpose, to empty and clear out your energy. That's the sort of those are the sort of things that we were talking about when we're talking about cultivating. Now, the idea of cultivating is to do them regularly. So, because you're nurturing, the idea is not to make it feel like a weight or like you have to do something when you don't feel like doing it. So, the mindset part is understanding how do I get centered and positive and what helps me on a daily basis to get there, even if I'm just doing 5 minutes instead of 20, but nourishing it and looking for ways to get to that positive thought. And this is where the rest comes in, which is the obstacles and the challenges, because they will come up.
Yes, yes. And this can be a tricky one because so many of our obstacles are buried in the subconscious. And in fact, the subconscious is running 90% of the show. So if you've been trying to achieve something and you feel like you've been doing the work and aren't making progress, this could be a sign that you have some blocks going on.
Right.
So this is a good time to start looking at patterns in your life. Um, if you look at your life like a big timeline, what were some of the difficult experiences you've had? Go through your whole life and write as many of these experiences as you can. And then look at what you wrote. Are you seeing any patterns? Are the same lessons coming up again and again? Are you dealing with some self-worth issues? This is a time when having a coach can really help identify blind spots. And that's not a plug for my coaching. I'm just, for my own experiences, I definitely needed help in this area from my coach.
Yeah. So one of the things to identify is that we all have blind spots. So we might need some help with those. And so cultivating a mindset that supports it includes being open to learning new things or asking for help. Another obstacle you might notice where the blind spot might be is where you're procrastinating, where you're questioning yourself, double questioning yourself, or falling into why is this important? Why did it matter in the first place? Why did I start this? Who am I to? So these are the sorts of obstacles, inner obstacles that might come up. Then there are outer obstacles. Right, Carol?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So dealing with rejection, dealing with too much information. So you might start something new and you might want to speak to people about it and you get everybody's opinion suddenly and that throws you into confusion. We've all had this, right?
Yeah, and a quick point on that, because I know last time we talked about the fact that not everybody's going to be supportive of what you're doing, and there's a big difference between that and constructive criticism. You're still going to want feedback and constructive criticism. That's important to our growth.
Right. And judgment. Mm-hmm. Right? Inner judgment and outer judgment. And as we've mentioned before, so now we're coming to the end. This is the second to last session. The last session, we're going to be talking about putting together a plan. But this is about bringing together all the learning. So how do I get in touch with my purpose? How do I get in touch with understanding how I'm feeling, my energy, and how do I protect myself? How do I refuel myself? Um, and then how do I deal with judgment? How do I deal with finding people who support me and don't support me? These are all parts and structures of putting sustainable stepping stones for yourself on a daily basis and then on a milestone basis. And ideally here, if you do encounter, the sort of spirals where it's not just a day or two where you're having a bad day, everybody has those, it's normal, but where the days turn into weeks and months, or where you feel like you're constantly on a hamster wheel doing lots of stuff and not having anything to show for it. Talking so easily about this because of course I've been there.
Yeah.
And this is where, again, as Carol said, asking for help is really useful, and asking for help from someone you can trust, but who isn't involved, does not have an agenda, and who has a structure they can provide for you, hence the coaching. It could be therapy if you find that it is, something more linked to an emotional blockage. But getting in a coach can help you clarify what is that purpose. So maybe you have an idea, but you have a sense that it's not quite right, or there's more to it, or you're not motivated enough towards what you're coming for. It's kind of heady. That's where you can get support from either one of us. Anything that has to do with energy, definitely go to Carol. She's she's the one who works with the energy, and the sort of using everything in life to create something that supports you. This is the divine breadcrumb that she deals with. For me, it's around the narrative. If you find that your words are hitting you or impacting you, the stories you're telling yourself, your self-talk, the way you speak about yourself to other people, or the way you cannot put words to what you do or you want to do and why, then that's where I can help in terms of narrative, like creating a narrative, because words matter, and where those words come from matter as well. So those are, once you've identified your obstacles, it's where to get the resources. So we've given you a lot of ways to find inner resources.
Yes.
And then there might be a point in which you might need external resources, which is why we're mentioning coaching at this point.
Right.
So
right.
what do you do? Which brings us to, what do you do if things don't go as planned?
Yeah, which happens because life is filled with moments that seemingly come out of left field. And there are things we just can't control. And we've heard this. We know we can only control how we react in these moments.
Right.
And as Ellie mentioned, we've given you some techniques, the heart lock technique and some meditation to get grounded, and realize that this too shall pass. I mean, good things, bad things, it's all cyclical. So try to be open and not rigid, and allow yourself to pivot when necessary. A pivot doesn't mean that you failed. In fact, it means that you're honoring yourself. So do what you need to do, keep on track, and keep in that healthy mindset.
Right. And one of the key things is to remind yourself of the end. We would have done visualizations about this, or there are all sorts of tools, even the automatic writing. What's the end impact? Because things will get in the way, stuff will happen that means that you can't dedicate as much time, or, lastminute.com, you wanted to do this thing, or a meeting with somebody that you thought could unlock something isn't happening. Whatever it is, when things aren't going to plan, to come back to remind yourself why you're doing this. And sometimes it is feedback. So not to dismiss it as, oh, it's just a bad day, or it's just a pivot. It is a pivot, and in which direction? So sometimes we can be stubborn and keep going down a way which isn't right for us because we believe we need to prove something, or we've invested so much and it's hard to pull back. And sometimes it's just feedback in terms of it's not clear enough, or it's not quite Right. Or I need more research. I need more information. I
Hmm.
need different words, whatever it is. So identifying the level to which we put meaning to situation and say it's not going to plan is
Right.
helpful. And then bouncing that off of your tribe and saying, look, this is the impact I want to have. Is this
Yeah.
me? Is this going on? Like, this is the feedback. This is what's happened. People might say to you, no, just keep going. Or they might say to you, you know what, maybe that's not needed, or that's not wanted, or that's not the right time, or
Yeah.
it's not clear enough, or you're not focused enough. So everything is feedback. And just try to remember that once you've made a plan, let go. Let go of the
Yeah.
plan. So have it, but let go. Don't be attached to it. Every entrepreneur knows that you have to build a business, put every inch of you in it, and be willing at some point to say, so I need to do something different because
Hmm.
this isn't working.
Exactly.
Right? So that's
Yeah.
the key. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but super important to have that attitude of, I would put everything in. But then at some point, either it's a deadline or based on feedback or based on, a plan, there needs to be a point where I say I either go through with it more or I let go. And I need to be okay with letting go.
Yes, yes. And I just saw a post about this the other day about the fact that so many people, especially if you're an entrepreneur, how much your plan pivots from the time you started, or even just redoing the business over and over. And it's okay. That's not a failure. It's a learning. And like you said, Ellie, to be okay with that, because that's what it's all about. You're going to learn you, because I think the thing is when you hold on so tight
Yeah.
to a plan, you're missing out on crucial information
Right.
from the people around you, from the universe, that might send you in a whole new direction that will really serve you in a higher way.
Right. And that concept of this is my baby.
Hmm.
Yes, love it like it is. And then if you've had children or a pet, you know that they're not yours to own. At some point, they're
Right.
just going to go. So it's the same thing with a plan. Put your heart and soul in it because it matters where you're going and you'll still get there. But then let go of the plan because
Yeah.
it is just guidance and life will guide you more strongly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. This has been a really fun series. Like Ellie said, we have one more video coming up in this series, but we hope that these discussions, the tools and tips we've been giving you have helped. And of course, if you have any question, you can reach out to either one of us, both of us. We're happy to hear questions,
Yep.
discussion points. That's what this was all about.
Yep. Thank you. See you next time.